All right, everybody, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about my Broncos offseason wish list. And it is 2 or 3 days after the season has ended, so this is very, very early. Whether you're watching this in March or February, hello, welcome in. Come along for the ride. Leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. Going to be talking about Broncos all offseason long through free agency and the draft and up until September. Drop a comment and let me know what you guys think about your Broncos offseason wish list. What positions do you want them to go after that I didn't mention here? You can always follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here. Let's dive right into it. So, number one, I think number one is going to be very clear to anybody who has found any sort of Broncos content this year and anybody who has, been relatively active within the landscape, or even anybody who has just watched our team on the field this year. There is one position that is very, very clear that we just need to do a lot better at, and that is tight end. So here's the deal. Tight ends accounted for about 450 receiving yards this year, which was by far the least in the NFL. This was very contingent. This room was very contingent on Greg Dulcich being that guy. And apparently he looked really good in camp, but honestly, it just looked like he played himself off of our roster. So I don't really know. I don't think we're ever going to get a complete answer as to, what happened or what went wrong with Greg Dulcich. But ultimately, I think the lack of the over-the-middle receiving threat at tight end really, really hampered the offense because it really shut down the intermediate passing game and hampered the intermediate passing offense. But it also made the run game worse because, two tight end sets, jumbo sets, told the defense that it was going to be a run. We didn't have anybody to keep the defense honest in the middle of the field, Trautman, Adkins, and Krull, they all made some nice plays here and there, but ultimately those guys aren't like NFL starting tight ends at all. Now, one thing I will say is I do want the Broncos to keep Trautman because I'm all for having him teach our new guys how to play tight end in the Sean Payton offense because it's a very complicated offense, and whether they add one, whether they add two, you're definitely going to want a handful of guys in the room who know what they're doing. But ideally, this is fixed through the draft as there are several intriguing tight end talents. I know that for months we're probably going to get mocked Tyler Warren at number 20, which, by the way, new thing, we do officially have picked number 20. So, there's other guys that people are going to talk about, like Harold Fannin, Bo Nix's college teammate Terrence Ferguson, a guy whose brother I actually sat next to in math class my senior year of high school. And ultimately, there are just a lot of good options at the tight end position in the draft. So, based on the fact that it's a huge, huge need for this offense, and, Sean Payton historically, he had Jimmy Graham, so if you could imagine what he would be able to do with another similar tight end talent, it would be absolutely fantastic and would really open up the offense and give our rookie tight end, or not anymore, not a rookie anymore, our second-year quarterback a security blanket. Number two, completely overhaul the running back room. So I don't even know who on the current roster is safe and who isn't because I could honestly see all three running backs that we used this past year getting cut because Bo Nix was our leading runner, or not our leading runner, but he was about 80 rushing yards away, I think, from being our leading rusher. And, it was embarrassing at the beginning of the year seeing all those stats like, oh, Bo Nix is the Broncos' leading rusher. And it felt like we were seeing those stats until like October before, we were finally able to get some traction there. But regardless, mile high salute to Javonte Williams for your services. Thank you. I will never forget the runs you ripped off your rookie year. I will never forget your ability to just absolutely level into dudes. And I will never forget you running guys over and dragging guys on your back. But he is not that player anymore. As long as you can run a sub 5.1 40-yard dash, there's always going to be a market in the NFL for pass protecting backs and third down backs who won't drop the ball out of the backfield. Unfortunately, I can't comfortably say that Javonte Williams runs faster than a 5.1 or a 5.2 40-yard dash anymore. He just does not have the explosiveness that he used to. I would be really, really upset if they brought him back because, even though he got doghoused at a certain point this year, I still felt like that the offense had featured too much Javonte Williams. I thought it was really, really bad that he got double-digit touches on Sunday against Buffalo in the playoff game. I did not like how in the win and end game he seemed to get the nod over Audric Estime. Didn't like how in overtime against Cincinnati we threw a screen to him when, it didn't really seem like that was going to be working. I feel bad for Javonte Williams because this is clearly a situation where the knee injury derailed his career. But unfortunately, sorry about this mini tangent, we cannot have Javonte Williams on this team in 2025. It's best for everybody to just move on. Now, I would have said Jaleel and Estime were safe, but after Audric Estime was inactive, I'm not entirely sure what to think. I don't know what to make of this backfield because Tyler Bidet was activated in favor of Audric Estime, and he only got 4 touches. So if you're going to do something like that, man, stick to your guns. Don't give Javonte double-digit touches. That just doesn't make any sense. And I would have said Jaleel McLaughlin was safe, but after, Sunday as well, he only got 2 touches, or 3 now that I think about it. So, yeah, I just don't know what to make of this messy room. This is like if you gave a running backs don't matter truther an NFL roster and said, go nuts, kid, and then, what this year has been about? It's been about the fact that the running backs don't matter people have had a huge egg on their faces because we've had multiple successful second contract dudes just keep playing well. So, yeah. The only respectable running back free agent this offseason is Aaron Jones, and unfortunately, he probably stays with the Vikings, so you are kind of going to have to dip into the draft. And this is another position where the draft is loaded, and there's a lot of really good ones, a lot of ones that could really make an impact for you if you draft them. So the idea here is that you want to add multiple if possible. I would love for some competition amongst everybody. I wish we got to see more of Blake Watson, but ultimately, I don't know, man. Number 3, mostly overhaul the inside linebacker room. And when I say mostly overhaul, I mean I will trust whatever Sean Payton and George Payton decide to do with this one. So props to Cody Barton and Justin Strnad for holding up this year after Alex Singleton went down. I know that Strnad in particular was not expecting to probably get any playing time this year. And, Strnad, the poor play, it doesn't bother me now. In the back half of the year, or in the last month of the year, it was clear that he was a weak link on the defensive side of the ball. But now that I'm not watching him get burned in coverage, now I'm not watching him bust coverage against the tight end or a slot wide receiver or anything like that and fail on the communication and the pass off or whatever, I forgive Strnad. Justin Strnad, I forgive you because you were never, ever, ever supposed to be in this situation to begin with. Now, Cody Barton, different story, because Cody Barton was actually signed to be the second inside linebacker on this team. And we honestly never invest into this position because, quite simply, it's devalued in the modern NFL. Trying to find an every down inside linebacker is like trying to find a 5-tool baseball player. So teams just prefer to, spread out the workload. And honestly, since the NFL is becoming so passing heavy, or since it's become so passing heavy, a lot of teams prefer dime packages where they'll usually have 1 or 0 linebackers on the field. So ultimately, it was a weak link of the defense, but you got to improve it. And I don't know how you do it because organizationally, like I said, this is something that we historically have never done. We've never invested into the linebacker position, but ultimately, it's just devalued in the modern NFL. And I hope that means you can find some nice budget signings. That means you can find a stud late in the draft. So I don't know how you attack it. I don't know if Drew Sanders is the answer because, that wouldn't surprise me either. This entire season was basically made up of guys who we thought were completely dead in the water, just rising. And ultimately, yeah, whatever Sean Payton and George Payton decide to do here, completely fine with it. And Vance Joseph, too. Number 4, find an upgrade at free safety over Lock and Key. So it is very much hindsight to say that Lock didn't deserve this chance. He was a good kid. He was pretty much Bronco made. He was homegrown, or even though he was from Texas, he was one of our homegrown talents. And I'm glad they gave him a shot. I'm glad they gave him a shot because he was a great dude in the building. He was a special team standout. And he just worked really hard to get this opportunity. So I do feel bad on a personal level that this did not work out for him. And ultimately, it's like the modern-day Bradley Roby. If you guys remember Bradley Roby back in the day, once Aqib Talib left in 2018, Bradley Roby looked absolutely awful at the cornerback 2 spot. And he deserved his chance. I'm not going to say that, neither Locke nor Roby did not deserve the chance because they both definitely did. But ultimately, Locke, he gave us a lot of really nice flashes of play. Like last year when he intercepted Jordan Love to seal the game for us. And this year, oh my God, the 4th down sack on Rodgers was a thing of beauty. But unfortunately, Locke just wasn't good enough this year. He was really, really bad in the final month of the year. And unfortunately, I think that has cost him his starting position on this defense. And I don't know how they replace it, but I just know that I'm going to sleep a lot better at night knowing that we're not going to have to watch PJ Locke get mossed by Brock Bowers. We're not going to have to watch, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, two guys who have pretty much been complete non-factors in the NFL, have their way over the middle of the field with him. In the Chargers game, that was absolutely ridiculous. Like, seeing him just get absolutely bodied by Gus Edwards and Hassan Haskins on the final drive of the game, just unacceptable. And talking about Key, he got obliterated against Zay Flowers. And, this was Riley Moss before Riley Moss. Because if you remember our defense, everybody was talking, well, when Riley Moss gets back, yada, yada, yada. Well, in the Ravens game, it was always, when PJ Locke gets back, yada, yada, yada. So, I don't know. Key, I think, is completely replaceable level. I don't see him being on the team next year. Locke, I can see him being on the team next year. We don't need to cut him or anything like that. I do really want him to be here because, once again, he's another dude who absolutely bleeds blue and orange. But, I had seen enough. We need a new partner for Brandon Jones. Number 5, find a real run-stuffing nose tackle. So DJ Jones had a great year, but this is not his role or his position and never has been. And the 2 games that the Broncos have played this year that they played really bad in were on Sunday against Buffalo in the wildcard game and against the Baltimore Ravens. And honestly, I think a lot of the struggles in that game can be attributed to the fact that you couldn't stop the run. And the reason you couldn't stop the run was because personnel-wise, you were just outmatched. You were just outmatched because you didn't have that run-stuffing nose tackle to, blow up the line of scrimmage and plug the holes and make it difficult for the defense. We didn't have a lot of size on the defensive line. We had a really good pass rushing defensive line, but against bigger offensive lines and power run schemes like what Baltimore and Buffalo were doing, we looked really, really unprepared. And it was just a personnel mismatch. But ultimately, this is how you can do better trying to stop the Bills, the Chargers, and the Ravens next year. You got to find this guy. Now, once again, I trust Sean Payton and George Payton's judgment. They completely overhauled the defensive line. This past year, they brought us John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach. They added some guys like Jonah Ellis as well. So I trust whatever they want to do. Whatever they want to do, whatever they think the solution is, whatever Jamar Cain thinks the solution is, I got no issues with it. So, but it is a position of need, and even just having one body, I feel like really, really could have helped us in a few games this year. So, that does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.